Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I am the Casual Driver, and today I want to talk to you guys about how I set up my cars, how I tune my cars in order to amplify their strengths, nullify their weaknesses, and overall just make them the most race car they can be. All cars are built for a specific purpose, so when building a car for a specific purpose, it helps to take the car as it sits, put it through that purpose. In this case, it'll be road racing, mountain driving, that sort of thing, and then finding its strengths, amplifying them, finding its weaknesses, nullifying them, and at the end of it, we should have a pretty sweet road racing machine. So for this project, I've chosen the JZA70 Mark III Toyota Supra. I picked this one because it's a little older. It's from '92. It's simpler in design. You can see through the A-pillars, unlike most modern cars. It's light. It's well balanced. And this is a big one for me, front engine, rear wheel drive. Now, don't get me wrong here. This is not to say that any other engine or drive layout is better or worse or wrong. I just happen to think, based on my own experience, that front engine, rear wheel drive is the most intuitive sort of car to drive. So, let's take this one out for a spin and see what it does. So the best way to figure out what your car is good and bad at is, surprise, to drive it. So we're going to start out nice and easy here. And already we can see that maybe the clutch is not my strong suit. Driving manual is not my strong suit, but that's okay. We're here for practice. Not exactly gobs of horsepower coming out of this car, but it moves. I've got my foot to the floor now, past 100. And already, despite the fact that we're at 115, which is not terribly quick for Forza, the car feels stable at higher speeds, which is quite important. Makes you feel more confident in pushing it. The brakes. So there's something I should mention, that I have an issue with the brakes in this game, or perhaps more so with my setup. On any car with the factory brakes, all it takes for me to lock the brakes up is to touch the pedal. I mean, less than 5% of movement on the pedal and the brakes are locked up. So that makes operating the stock brakes and anything other than race brakes, which are tunable, quite difficult. It's super easy to lock them up, and it kind of takes out the immersion a little bit when you're just touching the brake pedal and you've got to move within about a 5% window for slowing down and full lock. It complicates things. Gas and clutch work about right, about how you would expect them to, but the brake pedal, for some reason, I've tried fiddling with the settings, but it just doesn't quite work. Anyways, back to it. And we're going in wide open here. 2-liter 1JZ is not exactly a powerhouse in stock form. So my favorite place to set up cars, to tune them for really being good at everything, is this mountain right here. It'll show you all the different things that your car might need some help with, and will also show you as a driver all the things that you might need to work on. Remember kids, the driver mod is free, all it costs is time. Don't blame the car for something that you've done yourself. So as we start the hill climb, one of the things that I always focus on the hill climb with a stock or lower horsepower car is what line to take, how to take it, trying to maintain as much speed as possible so that when I come around on the downhill where power is much less of a limiting factor, I can go as fast as possible. And the faster you go, the more likely you are to push your car to its limits, the more likely you are to discover the limits and then be able to address and surpass those limits. Lock the tires up there, touching the brake pedal. Definitely the first mod I do is going to be race brakes. I gotta say though, that really takes me out of the game. It takes out the immersion that I have to put race brakes on a factory car just to have, oh, that's my fault. I have to put race brakes on a factory car just to be able to tune the braking force down to a point where I can use the brake pedal. We'll address that though. The third generation Supra, cruising pretty effortlessly along up the mountain. Not terribly fast, but it's well balanced. The suspension, the steering, the braking all seem perfectly suited for its power level. It kind of has that Miata effect, where despite having maybe 100 horsepower at the crank, a Miata, it's still quite a fun car to drive because you're so engaged with everything. It's well balanced. The same goes here. So far, I still don't want to push the car 100% to its limits or to my limits. I'm still learning how the car behaves. I'll play with it a little bit more, figure out how it behaves under certain stressful situations. Too much sauce on the back end, right around the middle of the corner. That'll shoot you wide out of the corner, as we've just found out here. So as I get more familiar with the car, I start to pick up some speed, pick up some confidence. And there we'll see that it's a little tail happy at high speed turns. Might be able to be addressed with a driver mod. Might be able to be addressed with some suspension work. Maybe both. I'm sure we'll end up doing both. curb just a little bit there. Mild correctional steer. So I've got to say, at the moment, just based on the hill climb, I don't think there's anything that I would change with this car. It grips well enough. It handles well enough. I haven't seen any amount of body roll, pitch roll, yaw that would necessitate a parts swap. The car did get tail happy on a couple of corner exits. There was some body roll there, but easily recovered with a bit of corrective steering. Nothing that would really warrant a parts swap. So now we'll try the downhill and see what happens with the downhill. I suspect this will be a little bit more intense because power doesn't really matter on the downhill. Yep, already it's like a brand new car. I will most likely end up flying off the mountain at some point on this downhill run. But hey, that's okay, we're here for practice. Crappy downshift from me, that'll give you that jerking motion. Oh, we're gonna be extra tight through this corner, or at least on the turn in. Clear on the back end. Quite nice through that one if I do say so myself. Heavy on the brakes, a little extra rotation coming in. And so far we're in the clear. I mean, this car has exceeded my expectations so far. I've never driven this car in the game before. Oops. Too soon on that downshift, that's on me. Oh, and understeer, that is also, again, my fault. Driver mod, kids, it's free. These curves always throw me off. I never know if I want to give it a touch of brakes at the apex to prepare for the next curve, or if I just want to coast through it. Every time I coast through it, I end up missing the next corner. Every time I brake for it, I could have maintained the speed. Tail rotation. So this thing does not really like my jerky gorilla throttle liftoff in the corners, especially on the downhill. Braking, shift the weight to the front. understeer because I'm new to this car. Wrong time to give it throttle. Okay, back to it. On that corner there. It looks like you want to go flat out through it, but you definitely don't. I think I can call that one a slight limitation on the gearing there. And here, it's one of those where you're close to the red line, but it's too soon to upshift, but you kind of want to upshift. That rotation's on me, once again. Upset the rear end during braking, applied too much throttle on the back end. Brakes. More brakes and trees. I am a lumberjack now. I've retired as a driver. This turn also a deceptively hard break in. I almost always miss that turn. Understeer right into the trees. Okay. And we're done. So, from what I can see, the car has some slight rotational issues coming down. And that can probably be solved by just airing down the tires. Now, the way pressure works in tires in the real world and in Forza Horizon are a little bit different. Generally, I find that tuning them to the same pressure makes all the handling more predictable. So we'll dump it down to 28 on front and rear and see how that goes. Alright, so we have our tire pressure lowered to 27 psi at all four corners, and in the interest of keeping things somewhat technical, I'll be running lap times here at the Horizon Mexico circuit. My goal here is obviously to run as fast of a lap as possible, and then mark the improvements of lap times based on each modification. I've got the opponents, all the assists turned off, just so we can get pure lap times. And I gotta admit, without the driving line, a good portion of the improvements at first will likely just be from me learning the track without the driving line. So, without further ado, here we go. A little bit of wheel spin off the line, but nothing too serious. The stock brakes bite me again. Smooth sailing so far. This is going to be a tricky one. Gonna have to watch those upshifts too. Real easy to upset the back end on this car, especially at these aggressive speeds. That braking is going to be the bane of my existence, though. Here's another hard braking zone coming up. That's me touching the brake pedal. Oh, so embarrassing. Coming around for lap 2. Braking a little bit earlier, just so that I can not lock up the tires, or try not to at least. Best effort here. That's better. A little early and a little more squealy than I'd like it to be, but that's all part of the fun, right? Adjust yourself to the car. Don't adjust your car to suit your skill level or your bad habits. Way too much braking there, but at least I didn't slide through the corner that time. And ideally, I won't have to brake at all here. Turn in super early. Avoid the wall. Hammer down. Lap completed. This section here, I quite like it. There's a lot of turning, but it's easy to flow through it, maintain your speed. This section I don't like because of the hard braking. Coming in a little wide at the end of the turn there, but that's okay. This one's gonna bite. But not as bad as the last couple of laps. Okay, I'll take it. There's those tricky stock brakes again. Turn in, off the gas, floor it, and we're done. Let's see, how'd I do? Of course I finished first. I was the only one out there. Goof. Best lap, 1 minute 30, 41 thousandths of a second. I have no frame of reference for whether that's good or not, because this is the only time I've ever driven this car on this track. But that's our baseline. That'll do it for this part of this video, and we'll have another one coming out in a couple of weeks here. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed.